Well guys, we're gonna dig back into the 80, finish getting the rest of this plastic off. We've got a pile of parts that showed up, brand new air filter, brand new front and rear brakes, the exhaust gasket, and a brand new spring, so this thing will actually seal up a lot better. We've got to finish the chain adjusters, but anyway, let's get right into it. Open up this little cheap Amazon carburetor that's on this bike and see we cannot just reroute it that way. Okay, it's a little tight in there, a little funny. Clean though, that's a good sign. Go ahead and take this right off. We're gonna take a look here and see what's going on. I don't know if it's baby powder or somebody just, I don't really understand what's going on. Huh. I don't know. We'll have to take a better look. So we've gone ahead and cleaned up the bars. We're rerouting this where it properly needs to be. And how we set it, guys, we want to get at the reservoir, but you want your throttle cable running along the top there. I'll try and get a better shot once we lower the bike down. All right, so we're going to reinstall the slide. There's a, you want to keep it as clean as possible. I got a big fingerprint on there. We're going to wipe that off. And there's like a little nipple on the side of the carb here. And then this groove is supposed to run in that nipple, but it is not a very good little carb. She sticks pretty bad. Just like that, but that needle's not going in 100%. You're gonna have to get rid of the breather box here probably in order to have a better look at it. I don't even think this is attached. It's not. We're gonna go ahead and pull the whole carb right off out of this boot to see what's going on. This is not the original carburetor for this bike, guys. We know that. You can see that the needle barely slides into the, there we go. It does run with this little cheap carb though, and surprisingly it actually worked pretty good. Try and get this a little tighter if we can. That's on there, a lot better. So it just wasn't tight enough. I don't know why it's 3 inches long and has a nut on the end. Obviously, it's not the right bolt. A big part about any kind of bike like this, guys, is we're gonna run this bike, but it's got crud and stuff everywhere on all of the hoses. So it's important to get that stuff cleaned up so you guys can, or anybody, can see if there is a problem. Like, how are you gonna know if this hose is leaking other than a puddle? And what hose is it if it's just covered in crud all the time? So we need to try and maintain these bikes and get the gunk off. So like there's a pile of old spooge because the gasket is, well, I'm gonna scrape most of that out and see what we can come up with, but hopefully it'll stop it by putting the new gaskets in, but just proper maintenance to bikes. And most of these bikes we pick up were never properly maintained. We've gone ahead and unbolted the rear caliper. There was only one bolt holding it. We'll have to find another one to put in the rear. The threads are there, everything's good. It's just they lost the bolt, which is fine with this bike. Those things are to be expected. There's hardly any pads left on this poor little bike. So we'll see if we can free the caliper up, get it to come across, but it looks pretty seized. We'll have to see what we can do. I'm gonna try the old screwdriver trick because I don't care about these pads. And see if I can get that inside one to budge. I'm just trying to wedge it with a screwdriver. Oh, I can. Good. So I was able to get the inside pad to move. That's gonna help quite a bit. So we've got to try and get this slider out so that I can actually lube these up. I don't think it's ever been done, and it definitely needs it. Oh man. It's moving, but not like I want it to. There we go. So we got the part out. We're gonna go ahead and clean all these off really, really good and get lots of grease in there so it can move freely, the caliper. So that's part of the problem with this poor little bike. Just a Scotch-Brite pad and some of the purple stuff there, the simple green. And you'll pull off a lot of the old grease and crud that's been built up in there. You'd be surprised on how well these will get cleaned up, I think. So we've gone ahead and got our part all cleaned up. Now we're gonna put a little bit of grease inside of these so that they work properly and grip properly. I'll put a little grease on the outside to help us get it back together. Soap and water works really good too. Just some dish soap, normal dish soap. You can get this back in pretty easy. All rear brakes and front brakes are pretty much the same. They have the same type of setup. Whether the parts might be different, but there's still a slide that needs to go together, you know. Most of this stuff is the same. Oh yeah, night and day difference, guys. Look at how easy that slides now. This thing's gonna actually have brakes. Got our brand new pads. Get our little holder in. The outer brake pad slips right over. It's supposed to fit anyway. There it goes. We're trying to get our bolts back in. We found one that'll work. Obviously it's not an OEM bolt, but it's the same metric thread and the same length, so it just has a collar on it. So it's gonna work really well. Don't have our pad in right, I don't think. There we go. Get up in there. Yeah, that's better. Our rear brake reservoir was pretty much empty when we started because that piston was pushed so far. It's at the lower limit right now. We're gonna top it up. Get this back in as well. All she needs at the upper limit. Perfect. So as you guys can see, there's nothing for this shaft to do the way it's set up. So we've made these blocks. These tabs are just to hold it from spinning. We're going to drill a hole in the center of it, put this block in. We're going to mark where that needs to be. That's the center line. And then we're going to drill the hole, put a nut on it so we can adjust our chain, one for each side. I'll hold this up beside it like so. Because I don't know if it's exactly centered. Now I could measure it. We're going to center it the other way. So this is a 1-inch piece, pretty straightforward. We're putting our dot in the center. We can go ahead and square it all up. I can see from my angle where center is really good. So we're just going to put a little center pop. Nice and easy like that. It's just aluminum. We're going to clamp it down and try to drill it. So as you guys can see, it's a pretty self-explanatory thing. We're going to clean it up a little bit, maybe blend it back together a bit. But this will allow us, we can tighten that. It'll allow us to draw the axle back. It's a pretty simple thing. Obviously, something like this is missing. I'll have to look it up and see how close I was to what they actually invented in this 96. Mine's probably a little stronger. So what we have to do on this bike, guys, is we're tightening up the chain, making sure it's 100% with our new tension blocks. And what we're doing is we're measuring off of this bolt. We're gonna pick center as close as we can, and go to here, and we're 11/16 to the center of the notch. Gonna make sure that's equal on the other side, which is what we've done. Taking a look at the rear, make sure the tire doesn't look crooked or nothing's funny, so we know that this is true, a true 0. And then we're gonna snug up this axle and put the cotter pin back in. Oh, that's pretty tight. The wheel spins freely, and we have room to get a cotter pin down in the hole. So therefore, we're good enough. That's the nice thing about these, is there's not really a torque spec. Because if I was to go to the next pin, there's no way. There's no way. I'd end up breaking the bolt. So we've gone ahead and got the front end of the bike up in the air. So we can go ahead and get this front caliper off, get new pads on it, and get it routed properly, the proper way around the bike. This hose is not supposed to be on the outside of the fork. It's been over here for a long time. You can see the wear marks. So they're supposed to run on the inside so that like a tree branch doesn't grab your brake line and break it. So we're gonna get that fixed up, and then we'll deal with topping up the fluid after we've adjusted all the brakes. This poor caliper just packed full of dirt. Oh well, we'll get it all taken care of. There's more dirt in there. That's probably why it wouldn't close and break. Oh well, same thing as the other one. We're gonna have to crush it over. This one's actually moving a lot better than the other one was. Now hopefully I can show this okay. There's a little pin in this brake. So instead of having a screw, what you would pull that pin to release these, there's like a little clip, like a hairpin down in here. We have to pull it out. There we go, we're gonna save that. Don't lose it. Then this pin should be able to remove, and it is. That's good too. Normally they're seized up. And we can get rid of the pads. Both come off like that. Now a matter of cleaning up this caliper a little bit. This slider, we're gonna take it apart just like we did on the last on the rear and clean it up, clean up all up in here. Just gonna soak it down with some simple green and use a wire brush to try and scrub up most of the crud. So right now our caliper's on the outside, which is no good. So we're simply gonna throw it on the inside, and then we'll deal with the strapping of this cable like it's supposed to be after. I don't know why it ended up like that. Maybe we'll understand when we go to try and strap it, but who knows. Anyway, we've got the thing all cleaned up. We've re-straightened this clip. I don't know if this is even the original caliper or the original clip, but the pads are gonna work, so we're gonna put them on. The pin, or sorry, not the pin, the clip, I think is completely wrong. I don't think this clip has anything to do with this caliper, but maybe I'm wrong. Because the brake pad really doesn't seem to sit with the clip at all. It goes the other way maybe, let's try that. I'm not gonna give up all hope just yet. Yeah, no, it's just gonna get in the way. So this clip is wrong. It's probably why it was all bent. We're gonna try and not use the clip because I think this is what retains the piston side brake pad. Our caliper's on. Now, front brakes. Let's pump it up and see if they work. Good, no problem. Now we can reroute our cable properly. So, anyway, I thought I had some sort of universal tusk holder, but of course I didn't. So we're using a piece of strap-all. Now I am not a guy that would normally use a piece of strap-all on a dirt bike, but until I can find a part that does work, this is what we're going to use. It keeps the brake out of the way. We can test ride this bike. You know, it'll be okay. And we'll go from there. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. So we've got our new exhaust spring and our gasket kit. We're gonna go ahead and try and install the spring if I can see where I gotta put it. Way up there, of course. Only one spring on this bike. I have to get it from the other side. Get our O-ring on. And this steel collar has to go up and sit in front. It's like a crush washer. And it is a pain in the ass. That's why guys don't ever have them on. Just like that. Best investment I think I ever made was finally buying a spring puller after a lot of years. But for 2-strokes and exhaust springs, spend the 10 bucks and buy a real spring puller. We're gonna tear into this little silencer and see, it's really heavy. So I imagine it needs to be repacked. So we're gonna pull all the little screws, see if we can get it apart, see how bad it is in here. It's nice that it's screwed together, not riveted. We're able to take it apart fairly easy. If they're stuck together, a good way is to clamp your pipe if you can, and just hit the body itself. Oh man, she is saturated. Let's see if we can push this out of there. Oh man. Oh, just a gooey. It's going right in the garbage. That's where that's going. So normally I'm a huge fan of the simple green, you guys know that. But in this case, we're gonna be doing brake clean. Lots of brake clean. Trying to rinse that oily spooge out of here. And then we'll deal with scrubbing it up a little better. Should probably be wearing gloves. We've got a bucket of Dawn dish soap and some really hot water. We're gonna drop the parts in, let them soak, get to them and scrub them up. And that will really speed up this process. So we've gone ahead and cleaned up all our parts. They're finally clean enough that we can put the effort in to repack the silencer. So we've got just some FMF 2-stroke packing. I don't really care what brand. The FMF stuff seems to work really good for me. I have good luck with it. And we're gonna wrap our tiny silencer with the packing. Just like so. We're going to use painter's tape to help us hold it. The painter's tape won't hurt your silencer, won't hurt the packing job. It's just to help hold the material, the fiberglass pack. I'm going to do it in a couple spots. Just like so. We're going to go ahead and snip the end off. Oh, we got our cheap pair of scissors. It's like the shop scissors. I can feel the end right about there. So I don't know if I can use a knife and do it better. Yeah, it seems like it. I don't like cutting into my workbench too much. Try and keep it as nice as possible, even though it is a workbench. We're gonna save this because it's plenty enough to do another little 80 silencer. And we'll put it back in the bag. And if we get another 80 or a friend's son's bike or something, we can do his silencer. All right. All right. We'll clean that back a little bit. Now, it's important to note which way this came off and which way it went in, or does go in. Now, our little other end goes on. I like to take a little bit of, this is the only time I really like to use like gasket maker or silicone. And this one is old and I've been had it around the shop for a while. I've tried to cut a hole in it to see if I can get more out of it. It doesn't really seem to be coming out. I like to put a little bit around the inner edge. It'll smear out. And then it was down. So we're going to install it like so. If I can get this screw to start, we'll be laughing. Sometimes you have to hit them with your rubber mallet. We'll go ahead and wipe off the excess before we get it all over ourselves. It's a matter of making sure the two are in line before we go trying to get this other side. I use a punch just to help me guide it. And then I put my finger in the hole and everything is set perfect in this one. We got real lucky. This one went together pretty good. So because these holes are kind of stripped out, you could drill another hole beside it through both pieces and then put a screw in, a self-tapping screw or a rivet. But we're just going to put rivets directly in the holes that are there. It's pretty common practice that sometimes this happens and it needs to be riveted back together. And a rivet's a real clean look. There we go. Silencer's all done, brand new. About 1/10 of the weight it used to weigh. Anyway, let's get it back on the bike. I'll have to wipe her down again. I'm getting a little bit of gunk off my hands on our nice clean exhaust. I do not like this rubber hookup. I would like to find a better one, but it'll be okay for now. So we got a brand new air filter for our little 80. So we're gonna go ahead and get her all oiled up. This is just Bell Ray stick foam filter oil. I'm gonna go ahead and get a good coating. It won't take much oil for this little filter. This is quite the neat little kit, but this is the second time I've used it. A buddy of mine let me borrow it. He's gonna watch this video and go, what the hell did you do to my kit? But this is the Twin air filter kit, but look what happened to the lid. I peeled the lid off. The outside ring peeled right off of this stupid pail. So I have this inside ring, well, it's no good. It's like a Frisbee now. So basically I'm gonna have to saran wrap something to the top of this, but and buy my buddy a new kit because this is horrible. It shouldn't have happened. I'm gonna complain to Twin Air and see what they will do. And if they don't do anything, trust me, I'll let you guys know. But I thought this thing was pretty slick until it doesn't work. I can go to Home Depot and get a pail that lasts longer than that. You know, it's just a pail. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a pail. Anyway, we don't want to wring out the filter. We just want to squeeze the oil into the filter. You know, get it all squished through. Real nice. And not oversaturated, just enough to coat it. Take your time when you're doing this, guys. If you don't have a crappy Twin Air pail like this, you can just do it over a garbage can. That way the excess drops in. Yeah, I'm not real happy about this because I don't know what he paid for this pail. Yeah. Anyway, now I owe my buddy a pail. So other than giving this bike a pretty good wipe down and clean, we've got the plastics bolted back on. We're gonna fill it with fresh gas and start it up and see how it runs. Well guys, that's our 96 RM80. A fun little project bike. This bike didn't cost us a lot of money. We haven't put a lot into it. Some wheel bearings, chain and sprockets, you know, repacking the silencer, fixing that horrible pipe. But she's got full FMF exhaust, kinda. But anyway guys, what we have planned for the bike is we're gonna let people that have never rode before try riding. I think it's a great way to bring people into the sport. Nobody's gonna hurt themselves on this 80, but that way, you know, we can maybe bring some new people in. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you guys think I should redo the plastics and redo the graphics kit. But I don't want to put a pile of money into this bike just to have people that don't know how to ride crash it. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.